Welcome to another daily live webcast called Jencast, a daily show that happens Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern for 15 minutes here on YFElive.com. Today is Members Only Monday, and I'm thrilled to bring on Molly Welch, who is the founder of MyOwnMolly.com. Molly is she owns a lifestyle management company and has been an executive assistant for some really high-profile clients. And so it's going to be an awesome time talking to her about how to become an assistant if that's what you're interested in, how to work with high-end clientele, just everything. So it's 15 minutes. We're going to get through a lot. So let's go ahead and bring Molly in right away. Molly, thank you so much for joining us today.
How's it going?
All right, so Molly, tell us, the company that you own, My Own Molly, it's behind me right now on the TV. It's a lifestyle management company. What does that mean?
So essentially, it's exactly as it sounds. We handle all the aspects of people's busy lives. It's not just entrepreneurs that are busy anymore. It's just busy people. So we kind of help tackle people's to-do lists. Whatever is causing them stress or, making them incapable of kind of managing their busy lives, we kind of take that over for them and help them in any way we can.
So tell us more about the story of you actually getting started, because when I first met you, you were working for someone, and I think it was more of like a full-time type position. And since then, you've really opened it up and you're working with a number of people and you have a number of service options.
Yeah. So essentially, I started with a background in the entertainment industry, which was really good training for working with all different types of personalities, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
I have a music background and music degree, and I trekked across the U.S. from Florida and wound up in L.A., and I didn't know a soul. I didn't know where I was going to live. I had my dog with my Pathfinder packed to the nines, moved across country. My poor mother, if she's watching, I'm still apologizing for giving her the stress of all of that. But somehow you make do. I mean, I think when you're really hungry and you have the attitude, a can-do attitude to just make it happen, you do it for yourself. And I started as an unpaid intern and started working, temp jobs at all the major music labels, and then I kind of dabbled. And I think that gave me a great foundation for learning different types of businesses and different ways of management. I worked in licensing, I worked in publishing, I worked in artist management for several years, which even more positioned me to be able to work with high-profile folks. And I think that once you come from a level of just respecting them for whatever it is that they're really good at, they respect you in turn. And as long as you come from a place of service, I think that, it's not as hard as people might think it is to work with really high-profile people.
Well, so let's talk about that. You, like I said, I met you when you were working for Allie Brown, and she's someone young female entrepreneurs highly admires. So how did you get that first high-end, high-profile, high-touch client?
Yeah. So essentially, there was a point where I kind of felt like, to be an assistant, you have to come from a place of really wanting to learn all the time. And I kind of capped out what I'd done in entertainment, I felt like. And I was like, what's the next big thing? And I just set a really powerful intention that I wanted to work for a really strong, independent businesswoman. I wanted to learn more about business. And that kind of, I found this Craigslist posting that was an anonymous, ad, and it said, busy female CEO and entrepreneur looking for executive assistant. And I was like, that's it. I'm going for it. I don't care who it is. I don't care what it is. It read exactly everything I was looking for at that time. And it just so happened that on the other end of that ad was Allie Brown.
And how fun.
5 interviews later, she's really good about, filtering the people that she works with. And by the time I met her, it was magnetic. She knew that my background in entertainment would be a valuable resource to her. Having, been on Secret Millionaire and, kind of being a brand herself, an on-air brand, as you might say. I really had the experience and know-how to work with someone like her. So it worked out perfectly. And, I worked for her for several years until she got pregnant and moved to Scottsdale.
So let's talk about the influence that she had on you then, because you started the business last year while you were still working with her, or right after you had finished. And so what influence did she, was there anything that you took away from her and was like, okay, this is what I need to make sure I do to my business?
Yeah. So you can't be around Allie Brown without, I think, having a sense of wanting to be an entrepreneur in some capacity. You're like, what can I invent? Like, what can I like, she has an infectious, contagious energy. If you know Allie Brown, you follow Allie Brown, you know that. You can't sit in enough, the back of the rooms and hear Allie talk. And I got several opportunities to do that. And I basically got a master's education in business and marketing. And, to honor her, I thought, who better to encourage the path of entrepreneurialism than Allie Brown? So I approached her before she had even moved. I approached her about starting my own business. I'm like, I really think there's a model here for people like you that need more of me. And maybe, I start to clone myself, because everyone kept saying, I need a Molly. How do I get one of her? And, it's funny because people, would try to poach me at events, and she's like, she's mine. But that really rung through to me that, there's other people that need a me too. Maybe not me, but they need a Molly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, so let's talk about some of the services that you offer then. Just if you can give us a rundown, because, there's a lot of young female entrepreneurs that are watching. So, we want to get these, and we're going to go back to the advice on how to communicate with high-profile clients in just a second. But in the meantime, I want to make sure that people that are watching, if they feel like they're at the point where they need that assistant, what are some of the services that you offer, and how do you package it up in as far as pricing goes?
You really have to come from a place that says that every client is different. And when I have an initial consult with somebody, at the root of our conversation is, how can I help you? And I think even just hearing those words, in life in general, it means it hits home for people. It's like, how can I be of service to you? It's not about how much this is going to cost you, or, oh my gosh, I can't afford an assistant. It's about, okay, what is it worth to me to take my business or my life to the next level and hire the help that I need to make that happen, so that I can live a natural, happy, healthy lifestyle. And that's what we do for people. So we offer anything from, I have a client that's a social media company, and I handle all of their accounts payables and receivables.
Oh my gosh, that would be so nice.
And then I have another client that I do all of their customer service. So anything that's coming in for, products and packaging, I have to answer all of the customer service emails for that. And then, I'm back working with Allie. So I'm still handling, many aspects of her calendar and kind of the really executive level assistance for her. So it's funny because, she ended up hiring me. She ended up being one of my first clients when I broke out on my own. So I'm still involved with her, and I still get to learn from her. And it's almost like I never left. I was gone for 2 months, and she was like, I want you back.
Oh, that's so nice.
It's a really good feeling. You definitely want that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, let's talk then about the ways that you bring these new clients on. So obviously, Allie Brown, you left a huge impression on her, and she said, let's go ahead and get started again. And I see that she's ramping up her business too right now. And so what's the most effective way for you to get these busy CEOs, these busy people, that need to hire you because they need things like calendar maintenance? How do you actually get in front of them and then sign them on as a client?
I think you have to make yourself vulnerable. I think that you need to be actively involved in networking events and be unafraid to hand out your card. And it's just it's relationship building 101. It's just putting yourself out there, having the vulnerability to say, you know what, I'm really good at what I do, and other people need that service. And if you know that you provide that service, whatever it is, mine happens to be assisting. I'm a professional assistant. I'm a career assistant. But whatever your skill set is, don't be afraid to put that out there for people, because 9 out of 10 times there are people that need it. So I think it's just come from a place of vulnerability. And
well, and that's interesting that you say that, because I actually see that you travel on your website. I liked you on Facebook, and you are constantly at networking events.
Yes.
So is that something that you do for work, or is that definitely like a strategy that you have as far as getting in front of people?
Yeah, well, luckily, work sends me to a lot of these events. If I'm working for Allie, I mean, she's speaking at a ton of different conferences all the time. But even if you don't have the luxury of going to events, I meet a business contact every time I'm at an airport. I'm sitting next to someone on a plane and I'm telling them about what I do.
Well, what's funny, since you mentioned that, I want to make sure that you talk about this. On Facebook, I saw that you said you were sitting at Starbucks and you were overhearing a business conversation, and you turned around and handed them your card.
Yeah. So
talk about being vulnerable. I would never have the guts to turn around and be like, maybe you could use me.
I felt rude, but at the same time, like, you know what? She may give me a call. And, even if she doesn't, it's just putting yourself out there and being unafraid. I think the entire, premise of what I do is having a fearless attitude to just really go out there and do whatever it takes, So she was new to town. She lived in my area, clearly, because we were at the same Starbucks. And she was like, gosh, I need someone to show me around or to tell me where the best dry cleaner is. And I was like, cha-ching, I know where the best dry cleaner is. It's just, you have to, a lot of it's timing too, but I think it's as long as you're unafraid to build those connections and relationships anywhere you are, you'll be successful. And just be resourceful. You have to have resources in place. If you can't talk the talk, if you can't walk the walk, it doesn't help anything.
Well, and it helps too that you have a very personable, bubbly type of a personality, whereas I think I might come across as a little shy and like hesitant. You have the same personality as my mom and my business partner. I'm always in awe of how she can just go up to someone and say, this is who I am. I'd love to help you, kind of a thing. And I'm just like, I could never do that. I'm working on it. But
you know what? It's good to know that is not your strength either. And I think what Allie has actually been able to do really well is she brought somebody on. She brought in somebody early on who was actually her first assistant, is now her partner in her business. And I don't know if people know that story, but she knew that keeping up with kind of the administrative and businessy stuff wasn't going to be to play to her strengths. It's not that she couldn't do it; she just didn't want to do it. So I think that knowing when to hire help and say, you know what, there's somebody else that's going to be really good at that, who's going to be good at the sales, who's going to be good at the relationship building. You're obviously strong enough to know that. You know what I mean?
It's a great point as far as, delegating and reaching out to other people. So let's say that, whether you're becoming an executive assistant, or maybe you're doing social media for this high profile client or company, what type of documents do you have to come to them with? So I'm thinking of, I know some of our clients have asked us to sign NDAs, but they always provide us with the non-disclosure agreement. Is there anything on our part that we should be doing to protect ourselves?
Yeah, I think it's really smart to lay out the parameters early on in any business connection. I'm really good. I parsed mine down to one document. I started with the template, which is easy to find online. You start out with a really robust template and you parse it down to cater to your needs. So within my 1 6-page document, I'm covering confidentiality and non-disclosure. I'm also covering the fact that despite what happens, given these parameters, you're going to pay me on time and those kind of things. And it just makes it fair for everybody if you're really upfront about those things in the very beginning. But you can have one document that covers all your bases. I think people get overwhelmed with thinking, I've got to have this document. Make one document that covers all of it.
A long book full of things that these people have to print out, and they're busy in the first part. So exactly. So the other thing I wanted to ask you is about hours. I envision executive assistants that are working for big names. I think of Lady Gaga, the whole lawsuit thing that went down.
Yeah.
So she's paying an assistant a huge amount of money, but at the same time, this woman was accruing overtime hours and not being billed for that, accordingly to the hours. She'd have to show up at midnight and start her DVD player, little things like that was addressed on the radio. So what kind of hours do you keep, and how do you manage that? How do you set, like you said, expectations?
Yeah, I think that to be in this role, like I said, you really have to come from a place of service from the jump. So you have to be willing to work around the clock sometimes. And I know that's really difficult. But if you want to be a career assistant, if you're listening to this right now or watching this right now, and you're like, gosh, I could be a really good assistant. I'm a Jane of all trades, or I'm a Jack of all trades. I think that you have to first know that you're going to be working a lot. This isn't a clock in, clock out, 9 to 5 gig. This is pretty much, around the clock. But also drawing those, like I said, those boundaries early on with whoever is employing you, that okay, I may work this weekend, all weekend, to get this one task done for you. However, it'd be great if I could have a half day next Tuesday. Pick a random day that's not going to be busy for them or inconvenient to them and say, I'm going to take a half day Tuesday to get caught back up on my personal affairs. And I think when you say that, people are really receptive and they respect it, that you're being clear about those boundaries.
That's great. They're not going to be like, no, actually, you can't have that half day.
No, you don't get any time off. You work all the time. No way. No one's going to be like that.
All right. So, Molly, I want to end with your advice as far as communicating with these high-profile clients. I mean, I really asked about email, and you clarified. You said, I speak on with these people in a number of different formats. It's not necessarily just on email. So what advice would you give to us who are trying to, first of all, get those clients in the first place, and also keep those relationships strong, so if they do end, someone like Allie Brown comes back and says, I need you.
Yeah. Exactly. I think that, just being willing to take on anything they throw at you. I don't know everything. I don't proclaim to know everything. But I do know that I'm willing to try just about anything, and never at the expense or cost of my client. I've even taken on kind of demo roles where I'm like, you know what, I don't know that software. Give me 2 days to spend with it, to sit with it, and it won't cost you anything. And if it's something that I can work on or we can work on together, in the future, I'll let you know. I'm really honest that way. So I think it's also being really resourceful. Like, you can't be in this role without being extremely resourceful. And then that means everything to a high profile client. So just knowing that they can trust you with their lives most of the time, and that you're always looking out for their best interest. A lot of the time I have to remember just to get them water. They're so focused on so many other things. And I think when you remember that and you realize that you're working with people who are going all the time. And sometimes they just need someone to hand them a bottle of water. You don't even have to say anything. It's just hand them a bottle of water, or give them a protein bar and say, have you eaten today? It's like, it's the basic things, but always coming from a level of positioning where you're making your employer or your executive feel like the superstar that they are. They will adore you for it. You really put them on a pedestal that positions them from a place of superiority, and that the buck stops with them, that they're the decision maker. You're helping, to maintain everything in their lives, but the buck stops with them. I think that there's a lot to be said for people who can do that. And it's a craft.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Luckily, I've been able to make a business from it. I'd love that I found a model. I said, I think there's a model out there for people who need more of me. And, hopefully I'll just keep cloning myself. I made my first hire in my first 6 months. I hope she's watching. I made
Congratulations. That's huge.
Thank you. And she's already helping with one of my accounts. I'm still overseeing the project, but she's doing kind of the day-to-day delegatable stuff. So also knowing when to delegate, it's supreme.
Well, Molly, I have to say, thank you so much for coming on. You have been an inspiration to me over the last year, just in how, I emailed you because I was just, I go back and forth with high-profile teams, so I don't ever really speak to the big person. I speak to their people, and you left such an impression on me. You were so willing and just so open, and you were so giving to our community too, whereas other people will come back with a huge list of expectations for me. So I want to make sure that everyone knows that. I know I've said it on the show before.
Thank you.
And that comes back to Allie too. I have, a high esteem for what Allie Brown does because of the way her people handle other people. And
that's been 15 years in the making too. She's had to learn how to build the right team and put the right people in place. So
valuable when you really think about that. So Molly, where can people find out more about My Own Molly?
Absolutely. It's just myownmolly.com. If you're out there and you're watching and you think you might need a Molly or someone to help, offload some of the mundane tasks you're dealing with on a daily basis, it may not cost as much as you think. So, we're really available on a per project as needed basis. So, and that's what I want it to be about. What are your needs? How can we help you? How can we be of service? So www.myownmolly.com.
Perfect. Well, Molly, thank you so much again for joining us. And I wish you the best, the absolute best of luck with your business in 2014. I think it's going to do so well. You have such a good attitude about everything. And I know everyone really enjoyed your advice on the show. So again, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Have a great day. So everyone, we've just been watching Molly Welch. She's the founder of myownmolly.com. Wasn't that awesome? I always feel inspired when I talk to people like that, where they realize they're just of service to other people and they put themselves, I don't know even how to describe it, but I'm in awe of Molly and all that she does, and hopefully you guys will check out myownmolly.com. So you've been watching the daily live webcast called JennCasts, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern here on yfelive.com. Make sure that you sign up for our mailing list at yfe.me/mailed-it to stay in touch with YFE and everything that we're doing, because February is going to be lots of fun. YFE Chat is hitting our 100th episode. So hopefully we'll see you for that. Otherwise, have a fantastic Monday, everyone. Fantastic members only Monday, I should say.